And we
And
are
sir,
live.
we are live. What a fucking interesting day it's already
Oh,
been, right?
yeah. I mean,
It-
how was your weekend? We'll just get the niceties out of the way before we get into the meat and potatoes. Because me and you both, we brought receipts to this one. We did our research.
it's been a while, man, since I've done a full-length podcast that is just about politics. Although I talk about it day
Yeah.
in, day out, that is 99% of my content. It's been a while since I had to do so much research because as much as I know a lot about politics, tariffs are can be complicated, can be
Mm-hmm.
very complicated. So I started doing research for this yesterday, man. I was on Next yesterday,
Oh
just
yeah, me
scrolling and
too.
scrolling and scrolling and watching, not only watching the videos, but especially watching the comments. Like I like to go see what people are thinking, what people are saying, because that gives you the pulse, right? Because it's hard nowadays if you look at mainstream media, and obviously they're biased as fuck. It doesn't matter that you're looking on MSNBC or you're looking at Fox. It does not matter. They really paint the picture they want to paint, not the reality
Mm-hmm.
of what it
They've
is.
got a
But
narrative
yet when you
for sure.
start analyzing the comments, you're like, damn. Because I've been posting about the tariffs for a few days now, and the content is doing very well, and I'm surprised by the comments because the comments are
What's the
kind
vibe
of
getting? The vibe I'm getting from Americans is fuck you, Canada, fuck you, Mexico. We're sick of this shit. And I mean that's their right to feel that way. Uh, as Canadians, you don't like to see it because this is gonna hurt for sure, and we're gonna get into that. But what are the comments that you're
that.
seeing?
Well, surprise. So, do I agree or disagree with Americans? I think that it's one thing I was seeing, especially from a guy like Tim Pool. You know that guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Massive
Beanie,
conservative. Like
beanie guy.
he's an idiot, but he's an idiot. That
Yeah.
dude is a righty, and I cannot stand that guy. I cannot stand that dude. As much as knowledgeable that he can be, he's a very condescending asshole. And some of the comments he was passing yesterday, as in, we're going to use the tariffs to destroy your economy, so it's going to make it easy for us
He
to
can march.
invade.
He said we're gonna march in,
And
and yeah, I
and
see
and
that.
I look at a little twig like that. I'm like, bitch, please.
Come
You
on,
ain't
Tim.
fucking fighting nothing. Like,
I
start
remember I
with me.
saw.
But start with me. I invite you wherever the fuck you want. We'll put the gloves, you and I, and see if you can get past me. I love guys that talk a
Talk
lot of
behind the
shit,
microphone, talk big. Yeah, yeah.
but
I remember.
those guys are like keyboard warriors. Like Matt Walsh is another guy I can't stand. I used to really like him, but now since that Canada tariff crap is going on, that's another one that's like, oh, let's invade Canada. And I'm like, bitch, please, you can't even fight yourself out of a wet paper bag. What the fuck are you gonna do? Like, seriously,
I
right?
remember.
So
I remember. I saw a clip there from Tim Pool a little while back, and he was complaining about the woke left, of course, and he was like, "It's because of the woke left that I can't get laid." I'm like, "Yeah, Tim, that's why you can't get laid." you
no, you can't
fucking,
get laid
you,
because you're a little
he's,
twig that's not attractive
yeah.
to women. That's
It's the woke left
but
though. There's a lot to there's a lot to be upset about the woke left about, but that ain't it, Tim.
But what's funny is that this is something that we talked about, and I don't know if we're going to get into that today, but the thing that I don't want to happen as somebody that's more conservative is the right to become like the left. And this is what I'm seeing from guys like Tim Pool, guys like fucking Andrew Tate, and guys like Matt Walsh that are using this as a way to kind of roll over what other people are saying. Like, they're literally trying to use the tariffs as a way to invade Canada. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, hold on. Maybe me as a Canadian, and I can't talk for all Canadians, obviously, but as a Canadian, I'd like to be American. Like, I'd like to live in the US full time. I like the weather more. I'm a big fan of guns, and I'm a Christian. So all of those things down south where I am right now, they apply very well. But that doesn't mean I want my country to become American. Like, there
Mm-hmm.
is a difference in culture between the US and Canada. And as much
Yep.
as we are we have 4,000 miles of border between our two countries. It's the largest border between two countries in the world, and we're two of the biggest countries in the world. I don't necessarily want Trump to show up and invade my country. Let's be honest here. Now, would that be that bad of a thing? I don't know. I don't know, and that's not the point. But the point is, there's a lot of Canadians that don't want to become Americans. And having guys like him,
nonpartisan up here, there's
100%.
There's very little effort. Even the far right, they like being Canadian. We're different, right?
But we're different. But as much as we're very similar, we are still very different. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. But it's just that the more Trump's only been there for 2 weeks, man. It's his third week starting right now.
Fuck it.
And
is that long? It feels like a year already.
You see the right going, a lot of the right is going completely ballistic. But there's a good portion of the right. They're just like, I took a snapshot this morning. The guy is basically just saying, you know what, Canadians, we love you. We love you, but it's about putting America first. And I'm like, you know what, bro? I get it. I fully understand. I fully understand where he's coming from. And I'm not saying I agree with the tariffs, because I don't. But at the same time, I understand why he's doing it. I don't like it because I don't think they're necessary, but I see what he's doing. I don't agree, but I see what he's doing. It's Dr. Taylor Marshall that said that this morning. He's like, dear Canadians, you are our neighbors and we love you. We are just trying to liberate ourselves and you from Marxism. Help us overthrow your Pharaoh Trudeau. And as much as I agree with what he's saying in essence, I responded to him and I'm like, bro, no matter who you look at, it doesn't matter that you're looking at Justin Trudeau or you're looking at Pierre Poilievre. They're both lefties. They're both weak leaders and they don't care about Canada. They're career politicians. They don't give a fuck about Canada. They didn't stand up for us during COVID. They didn't stand up for us during the lockdowns, and they don't care. So no matter what are our options? And that's what I'd like to bring it back to if we have the time today, because this is why I wanted to talk about the tariffs. I wanted to talk about the tariffs to show how weak our leaders are in Canada and how Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau are a lot more alike than people think. And after watching, I don't know if you watched his address that he posted yesterday, saying how common sense conservative need to stand up and go against we need to put tariffs on American goods. You start scrolling through his comments, because motherfucker has 1.3 million followers on X right now. And obviously it's because he's went on Jordan Peterson. Pierre Poilievre has a massive following, on X, and obviously it's because he was on the Dr. Peterson podcast. Obviously that helped him a lot. But what was surprising to me is I started looking and scrolling through the comments, and a lot of the comments are exactly what I've been saying for a long time. He's just a fucking lefty masquerading as a righty, that he's no different from Justin Trudeau. And that's coming from the people that are following him. They're starting to wake up to that fact. And unfortunately, this is the reality that we're facing in Canada. We don't have political polarization. Like, we don't have extremes in Canada. Everything is.
I think that's a good thing, though. I don't think. Are you saying it's a good? You think we want polarization?
Polarization is probably not the right word. Maybe I should say that we don't have a real we don't have
a defined
parties.
Okay, yes, I see what you mean.
See, you know what? Polarization is not a good word, and thanks for calling me out on this. It's mostly, I'm a more conservative
you want more of a defined right and left, or a defined conservative versus defined liberal.
I would like to have parties that represents you and parties that represents me without being the same party. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so that we can have, just like you and I are going to have, and just like we had with Jason when he was there on Friday, we have conversations where we don't agree, But if we can approach it from a common sense perspective, we can find common ground. But you don't want to just have one party that does that. You want to be able to have debates. You want to have people that will be in opposition of each other, parties that will oppose each other, while trying to do what's best for their country, in this case, Canada. But you want people to call out, you want the opposition, because in Canada, for Americans that are listening to this, you might not understand this, but we have like 5 parties or 6 parties. Then you have your main party that their leader is the prime minister, and then you have the official opposition. Their job is to oppose everything the other party is doing. That's basically what they're supposed to do. And I like that. I like the fact that you want to have 2 parties, one calling the other out on what they don't agree with. And if they agree, well, that's fucking cool. Because if you can have 2 different ideologies that agree with each other, that's fucking common sense right there. And normally that should benefit the people like Canadians, right?
Yeah,
but I
right.
want that. I want that debate. I want those 2 sides to argue, to oppose each other, to have a healthy debate, so that people like you and I, or citizens of Canada, can just sit down and say, you know what, I like what they're saying. I like what they're saying. The truth's probably somewhere in the middle. I want that. This is the whole point of me being on this podcast with you, right?
Yep, no, that's right. That makes sense. I agree with you on that for sure. Just bring it back to tariffs a bit. The guy that you had said something there that one of the guys that whoever you quoted, he was talking about how, he said, Canada, we love you. We just want to get rid of you, to get rid of the fascist Trudeau or something. I too want to get rid of Trudeau. And I think as long as we can have an election, we're going to do that. I think what he's doing now by proroguing Parliament, just to hang on, by the last tiny bit of power that the Liberal parties have, is at this moment when we're facing these massive tariffs, is a massive disservice to Canada, and it really shows. I haven't agreed with every single criticism that's been leveled against him, but this one, I mean, it's sort of, in my mind, the fact that even though he's gone, he's still trying to hang on to power. I think that justifies almost every criticism that was made against him. But that said, I do not want a foreign power to dictate that. I want us to decide that. I don't want it to be done under duress of tariffs, because it's going to happen anyways. As long as an election happens, he's gone. It looks like Poilievre is going to get in. I actually like him. I like Poilievre, probably because I'm a lefty. He sort of represents that. For me, he's a very palatable conservative. I can see why.
But he's not a conservative.
Right,
let's not call him a conservative.
By Canadian,
even by Canadian definition, he's not a conservative. It's just a conservative by name. He's a lefty with a sense of economy. That's it. That's all he is. He stands for the exact same thing as Trudeau does, but be honest, he has a sense of economy.
That's what I want.
As a conservative, I look at him and I'm like, he's so full of shit. He is so full of shit.
Who would you vote for?
Because
Bernier?
I don't know, man. I really don't know what I would like to do. I'm really trying hard to get Maxime Bernier on my other podcast. I would love to talk to him. I've met him once when he was trying to become conservative leader, like when Andrew Scheer won. They fucking cheated him because they didn't want Maxime Bernier to be the leader of the Conservatives. But I met him at a small event, shook his hand. Seems like an okay guy, but I just like the thing I like about Maxime Bernier is that during the COVID lockdowns, he was the only one that protested. He was arrested for protesting. He's the only one that stood up for Canadians, and his speech, when it comes to it, has never changed. He was for ending the lockdowns from the get-go. Never changed his speech. He was for the Freedom Trucker. Never changed his speech. He is a big proponent of free speech and freedom of choice. That's his big thing. And he is the only politician that did not flip-flop. He's always stood by what he said, and that part never changed. Do I think he'd be a great prime minister? I don't know, because he's untested. I don't know. He's never been in a position of power where if he would have became the conservative leader when Andrew Scheer became the conservative leader, that would have gave us a better understanding of what he actually stands for, because he would have had the platform to do so. But unfortunately, he's not allowed to debate in Canada because his PPC party's not big enough. They don't want to give him a platform, which I'm hoping this is the silver lining with this tariff thing. And this is why I'm going to call fucking Polyev every single fucking day for the weak leader that he is, just hoping that I can get to speak to Maxime Bernier and have him debate. If there's a goal I have before October of this year, before the real election is brought in, is to have Maxime Bernier on my podcast and hopefully him debate. I would love for him to debate, not because he can become Prime Minister of Canada, but just because he can call people's bullshit. Like he is not a lefty. That guy's a libertarian if you look at the way he thinks. And this is the closest thing we have to a conservative. So he is very right of a Polyev and a Justin Trudeau or liberals. And this to me is a good thing. Even if he doesn't become prime minister, he cannot become prime minister, just the fact that the conversation is open between two political spectrum, being the left and somewhere in the center, it can only be good for conversation. No matter what happens, if he can become prime minister or not, I want to drive that conversation. I want to be able to have those hard questions asked and answered. And right now, there's not enough difference between Polyev and Trudeau, and the way they sit on the tariff is just showing that they're a lot more alike than they claim to be. They're very fucking similar in the way that they are as leaders. They're both fucking weak. And I would like somebody on the political stage to call them out, to say, why did you do this? Why did you not do this? If I was in your place, I would have done this, and this is why. Answer me, please. That's all I want. I want the conversation to be opened.
No, for sure. And I can already tell we are going to dig into this a whole lot over the course of this show, those things. Just to bring it back to...
And if you don't want, you better be ready, because I want to dig in this shit.
Oh,
you know, as well as...
I feel like I'm going to have no choice. You're going to drag us all down there with you. You're digging the rabbit hole.
Is that not the whole point?
No,
but is that not the whole point? At the end of the day, the whole point is to drive that conversation. Like, look at what's her name, the premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith. She's my favorite. Yeah. If her and Maxime Bernier are my two favorite ones in Canada, and I like the way, as much as I don't agree 100% with anybody. We've been through this before, but I liked her response to the tariffs. She doesn't agree with it. Neither do I. She doesn't think it's needed. I don't think it's needed either. But at the same time, her response is not to apply tariff on them, but let's open that conversation. And this is the whole point. And for the people that don't know, about 45 minutes ago, or maybe an hour now, because we've been here for 20 minutes already, Mexico and the U.S. have come to an agreement, and Trump has paused the tariff on Mexico because Mexico agreed to send something like 10,000 troops to the border and try to secure it. So Trump will be halting or pausing the tariffs for a month. So as I've been saying on social media for days now, Trump is using the tariffs as a negotiation tactic. He wants something, and he's using that to force people's hand. This is plain and simple. This is what I've been saying, and he's just proving it right before our show that that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, no. So that's a good segue into the tariff talk.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because we were cutting down some rabbit holes there for sure, but now I think we're back where we want to be, and I'm sure we'll get down some more. But I think that was my concern. My biggest concern was because, okay, we know what the Trump administration is saying. Actually, first, before we get into that, I just feel I want to just very briefly, just to our audience who might not everyone, I mean, a lot of people are just learning about tariffs now. My sister last night she makes dresses, and she was calling me. She was like, what does that mean for me? Yeah, she's a handmade. She makes a handmade. She's a designer, Beautiful. But she sells a lot to the States, and she's wondering what that means for her. She didn't know if that was a tax on us or whatnot. Just very briefly, in case anyone's not quite sure, tariffs are a tax that are applied by American on Canadian goods. All it means for us in Canada is that prices of Canadian goods will go up, and therefore demand will go down, and therefore a lot of Americans just aren't going to buy the Canadian goods that they have been. It is a very, very serious thing. I think there are some people who think it's just politics or whatnot. I think the close, like Doug Ford had said, there will almost certainly be up to at least 500,000 job losses in Ontario alone. Now, to put that in perspective, Ontario only has about 500,000 people unemployed right now. So you're looking to double the unemployment rate in Ontario. Canada-wide, you'll probably see close to 1 million in job losses. Something like 80% of all of our trade goes to the United States. So it is a very, very serious thing. It is going to hurt for the foreseeable future, or at least until we can get rid of this. And we need to treat it seriously. Now, that said, how can we get rid of them, I guess, should be our main goal. Trump has said a few things. He's talked specifically about fentanyl at the border. And just tightening up the border. And I think most Canadians look at that and they say, well, fuck yeah, let's do that. That's an extremely simple ask. My concern has been, is that really what they want? Or are they just giving that lip service? Because if that's all they want, I feel like that's an easy fix. You know what I mean? And what you just said about Mexico doing their thing, and then having the tariffs pushed back for a month, that gives me hope. That gives me confidence that maybe it actually is just about the borders. I know Trump has said some things like he wants Canada to become the 51st state, and he's going to use economic leverage. And if this is a ploy to get us to become the 51st state, I mean, I'll have it. I think most Canadians will have a serious problem with that. Like you said, almost everyone on all sides of the spectrum do not want to be part of America, even if you may love America. I think it works as is. Clearly America is our big brother, always has been, and they have, in many ways, we have enormously benefited from their largesse, from the fact that they protect our country with their military. Means we haven't really had to spend a lot of money on our military. That is a huge benefit to us. And I think some of the concerns are legitimate. I think that there is, I don't want to say we take advantage of them, because I don't think that's right. I would say we for sure take them for granted. And if I don't think they're doing anything wrong per se in trying to get done what they need to get done. I just hope that it really is about the things that they're saying, that it really is about fentanyl and firming up the border, because A, that is reasonable, and B, that is solvable. We can solve that. If their true purpose is to become Canada's 51st state, that's a whole can of worms. That's going to be a lot harder to do, and I really hope it's not that.
But
go ahead.
One of the things that we need to keep in mind is that Trump is a business guy. He will say things in order to generate a reaction out of people so that he can take advantage of it. So him saying, I want Canada to become the 51st state and then put tariffs is forcing her hand. So what he's saying is that we need to secure our border. Like I showed when you were talking, I don't know if you noticed, but I showed the actual official statement that is posted on the White House's website. This is where that photo, that website was. And
in regards
that's
to
what
Mexico?
he's saying. In regards to Canada and Mexico, that he wants to stop the flow of illegal drugs as fentanyl and illegal immigration.
And that's perfectly reasonable.
Right. I totally agree. And this, we can only take what he's saying at face value, because we don't have any proof right now that's not the case. And even though I would say that we have even more proof now that was the case, because now Mexico has agreed to send 10,000 troops. And after one phone call with the Mexican president, the tariffs.
Well, like I said, that's heartening. That gives me hope, because they met his ask, and he did what he said he was going to do.
And one thing, but you know, a lot of people are scared, and I was commenting on some of the posts that we have on the Political Orphans page here on X this morning, and that's what I'm telling people. I'm like, a lot of people are pissed off at Trump because they don't like Trump. They think he's a criminal, he's a felon, he's this and that. And my whole point is this: guys, you can't change that fact. You cannot change the fact that he's president, and you cannot change the fact that he will put tariff on Canada starting tomorrow if we don't do something about it. I mean, this is a fact.
We can complain all we want. It's gonna
this
happen.
Is what it always bothers me, because it always comes down to accountability. Whatever problem I see in society, it's always a lack of accountability. So this is a fact. You don't like him? That's fine. No problem. I don't like a lot of shit that he stands for. That's fine. But the point of the matter is that he will use his power to force our hand. No questions about it. We are dependent on the U.S. We have less than 10% of their GDP. There's 4 fucking states in the U.S. that has a higher GDP than we do as Canadian. And keep in mind that we have as much population as California does. So
that's
just
keep in mind, if it comes down to any sort of war.
But hold on. But this is exactly my point. Posturing is not going to work against a guy like Trump. He's used to doing business. He's not a Joe Biden that is a career politician that has no testicle, that doesn't stand up for anything. That dude will stand up for what he's saying. And right now, what he's saying is that he wants to take care of America. So as much as you hate that, from a Canadian perspective, it fucking sucks, because that will impact us if we don't play it smart. But at the same time, if you look at an American perspective, yes, they will pay 25% on some goods that they're not used to. But at the end of and he's the first one to say, like Trump has said multiple times, he was even saying it today, that this will hurt Americans. Having a tariff on Mexico and Canada and China will hurt the US in the short term. No questions about it. But the whole point is to become more self-sufficient, to rely less on importing goods and producing them here, well, I say here because I'm in the US right now, but producing them locally, like in their own country.
I'm already seeing news reports of companies moving their headquarters, Canadian companies moving their headquarters to the States, especially ones with a large, I think one of them was a snack company in Quebec, and 80% of their market sells to America. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense for them to do it. And so, I mean, that's the plan. And that's a good way of going about it. It's going to suck for us. Like you said, we can complain all we want. At the end of the day, this is
the situation in which
there's no diplomacy out of this. There's no whining our way out of this. We have to actually, we have to change our mindset about how we deal with the United States, because the way we've been doing it for the last 40 years it's not going to work anymore. I just want to comment here. I see a comment from LGB Baz US from X. From what I've seen of Polyev, he seems pretty even keel. Is he not? I mean, that's how I see it. I like the guy. Nico, I think, sees him as he's conservative, a Sino, conservative in name only, I guess you could call him.
But the thing is that he flip-flops a lot. Like he did not stand up.
Do you think Bernier doesn't, though?
From one, he doesn't have the exposure, so he doesn't have as many chances to flip-flop.
Sure.
But from what I've seen,
Bernier is a career politician.
They all are, unfortunately. Yeah. And I don't make it, I will make it very fucking clear. I do not trust career politicians as a whole. I don't. If you're a career politician, I come from a place that I distrust you from the get-go. You're going to have to prove yourself. The only thing I said about Maxime Bernier is the only one that did not change his tune based on what was going on in the news. Even if it was extremely unpopular to be for the Freedom Trucker from the get-go, to be against the lockdowns in Canada, he stood against those, or for those, as in the Freedom Trucker, and against the COVID lockdowns from the get-go. He did not change his tune. And you know what? even if I don't agree with someone on their political views, if they stick to it, no matter how easy it would be to flip-flop to go with public opinion, I will always respect you. I might not like you.
You gotta
I might
respect
not.
that.
Oh,
Yep.
because I
There's such a
lost
hunger
my
out there.
but bro, I made a shit ton of money at my old job, and I was just about to sign a massive fucking opportunity that would have made me almost $500,000 a month, like a year. And you know what? I said, fuck you. I dumped all of that shit to go back to zero and have no fucking job just because I refused to take the vaccine. This is me. This is what I stand for. No. Oh, fuck no. Man, I was good at what I did, and I only had to work 40 hours. That's not the case anymore. But I respect people that will stand up for what they believe.
That, brother.
But see, I wouldn't. Because at the end of the day,
I know.
I stand up. I believe in what I believe that I was right, and I
believe
up
in $500,000 a year.
In.
Is what I believe in. It's admirable.
I know, but it's not the point. I don't want it to be admirable. I just want people to understand that this is what I look for in a politician. I want somebody that is ready to stand up when it's not popular. That they will not shoot, they will not change their tune to appease what people want. And this is a very Christian value. If you go back to the core, this is how Jesus was. He did not fold to public pressure. He got fucking killed for what he believed in. And this is what I'm ready to do as a man. This is my job as a man, and I will stand by that. But it's so hard to find that in politicians today. And this is my biggest gripe with politics. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
It is not impossible.
Now it is. No, hold on.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Hold on, though. Hold on.
This is a silver lining.
Okay.
No, but hold on. Let me finish this, and then you can go. This is a silver lining because Pierre Poilievre shot himself in the foot. He exposed himself as being a weak leader, not the leader that he was saying to be. But by siding with Trudeau, he is proving to people that he is a lot more like Trudeau.
Hold on. How do you side with Trudeau?
But hold on.
How?
They both agree on putting sanctions on the U.S. So he's siding on Trudeau on how to deal with the U.S.
You mean the retaliatory tariffs? I got you. Yeah,
100%. The only person that I've heard, because I tried to see Maxime Bernier, I haven't seen anything he posted about this yet. But I like Daniel Smith from Alberta. The way that she responded to it. I don't agree. I don't like it, but let's try to figure out a way to get this resolved. And this is how adults will deal with a situation. And this, I'm a fan of Danielle Smith. Again, do I agree with everything she says? No. But if you gave me a choice tomorrow, this is probably who I would want to lead Canada because of what she stands for.
She's done a good job. I think
what I'm saying is that there's a space. They're showing that there's a space right now for somebody to step up and be that strong leader that will do what needs to get done, no matter how popular or unpopular it might be. And right now, the real good thing to do, the smart thing to do, is to try to do what needs to get done in order to get those tariffs removed, just like Mexico did. So if they want us to secure our 4,000-mile border, which, just so you know, 32 miles of our border with the U.S. is secured. 4,000, more than 3,900 miles of border.
That's what I mean when
the
I
US
say
and Canada.
if that's the ask, it's fixable. We can do that.
So do that, and then the first thing you should do is to fix that problem. Let's assume that this is really what he wants, because that's all we can do right now. And Mexico just kind of proved it it seems that that's what he wants. So let's fucking get rid of the problem. But then as soon as that problem is addressed, let's start becoming self-sufficient. Instead of buying out of our oil and gas from Saudi Arabia and the US, when we have the third biggest reserve in the world, how about we invest all the money that we need to become 100% self-sufficient on oil? Stop importing goods from other places that we're capable of producing ourselves. This is the opportunity that I see right now.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard a fucking politician up to now grow a fucking pair and say this. Let's use this to our advantage. Because again, COVID showed it to us that we're extremely dependent on other countries, and this should stop. If you're smart, be self-sufficient.
What you're saying there is exactly correct. We need to take.
Thank you, Professor Rob. I appreciate it.
Not all the other shit before that. That was bullshit. But the last 2 seconds, exactly correct.
Hey, bro.
So actually,
hold on, I got a gift for. I got a gift for you though, right here. Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
So what was wrong about what I said?
Okay, no. So when you were correcting me and saying it's not impossible, what I was saying is it is impossible to find a politician today who just doesn't give a shit about, who isn't triangulating fire in their minds. What I'm saying, I'm saying it's not impossible to do it. I'm saying I actually think there's a huge market for it. And I think if someone just has the balls to do it, to just politicians used to do that, right? They said, okay, maybe this is unpopular, but these are my principles. I'm going to stand by it. I mean, I think a lot of politicians are short-sighted. Yeah, you might have an unpopular opinion in that moment, but whatever you might lose on that opinion, you're going to gain so much more support by people who say, oh, you know what? I really like that. I like somebody who just has some fucking balls, some principles, and they say, I don't give a shit if what I say is unpopular. So I think they're making this calculation like, oh, I can have my principles or I can be popular. That's the wrong calculation. They can have both. A large reason why so many politicians are unpopular is because they do exactly that. Now, I do want to talk about the
opportunity is there. This is what I meant, is that although I cannot tell you who would be that person outside of Daniel Smith, the opportunity to step up.
She's certainly got that.
But the potential is there. The opportunity right now, the door is wide open for somebody to step in.
Someone just has to take it.
And that is the silver lining that I'm seeing, is that people are starting to see that it's not Polyev and there's an opportunity for somebody else to step in. That's my point.
So, and there's a great segue to what I wanted to discuss is silver linings, because, we talked about how devastating this is going to be for our economy, especially short term, but there's some pretty big silver linings here. And if nothing else, it sort of shocks us. We do need to become more self-sufficient. We have relied too much on the United States, and now we can see the downside of that. Because the United States, yes, they're an ally, they're a friend, they are a partner, but they are not going to put Canada above America, and nor should they, right? Nor should they. We can't keep pretending like they will. So there's a few things that we can do in the meantime while we figure this out. And they're the things that probably should have already been done, 10 years ago. But it's like you said, we are an absolute energy fucking and resource superpower. And we have really disinvested in ourselves, often at the behest of the United States. They have had an interest in us not fully developing our capabilities because they want to be at least somewhat in control. What we need to do first, we need to build a pipeline access coast to coast. The Canada-U.S. pipeline that was scrapped when Trudeau had it. Now,
when Trudeau bought it and destroyed it, yes,
that was mostly scrapped by pressure from environmentalists and Quebec. So your people are going to have to eat a little bit on this. Yeah.
Oh, they should take it on the chin because it is their fault. Quebec is, I can tell you as somebody that grew up in Quebec, Quebec is the most hypocritical fucking province in Canada. By far. We're so full of shit. We're so full of shit. So full of shit.
I mean, the rest of us know that, but we just can't say it.
And I'm a Frenchie and I'll be the first one to say so.
We need pipeline access coast to coast. We need to build out 100%. A refinery refining 100%. Capabilities. Like you said, what we're doing is we're sending our raw oil down to the United States. It's getting refined, and then we are buying it back as gasoline. We're leaving hundreds of billions of dollars on the table by doing that. We should be refining it ourselves. Like out here on the East Coast where I am, I'm in New Brunswick. We only have one refinery in St. John, and they get all their oil from fucking Saudi Arabia. We've got all this oil that we're drilling out of the ground out in Alberta, but we can't get it here because we don't have a pipeline to get it here. We need to fast track LNG export terminals on both coasts. The world is dying of hunger for energy, for our energy, and if we have on both coasts, we can dominate the Asian and the European energy markets on both ends. We need to develop the Ring of Fire, which is a very undeveloped tract of land. It basically has a ton, estimated up to $1 trillion of mineral wealth. And we need to deploy our military resources to what resources we might have to the Arctic and secure Canadian sovereignty. If we can do all these things, we will.
Hold on, Rob, hold on.
Yep. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you.
As a climate change believer, I fucking love what you just said.
Well, I do believe in it. I do believe in it. However, our little drop in the bucket, if you look at how much our greenhouse gas emissions is compared to China, even if you believe all the worst case scenarios, we're zero. It's not going to make a difference, and no one else gives a shit anymore. We can't give a shit anymore. So what we need to do,
again.
See, there's common ground here. But the other thing too is all this.
But what you're saying is common sense. So I'm going to always agree with common sense.
Yep. And all this stuff, it's going to take work, right? Because we're like we said a little bit earlier, the unemployment rate is going to fucking go through the roof. We're going to put people back to work building these things instead of tapping, going into deficits to give stimulus and give money back to people. Just go in, use deficit spending to invest back in our infrastructure. And then when all this shit is said and done, one thing people don't realize, we sell our oil to the United States. They're really our only buyer. We sell it at a massive discount. It's like $40 a barrel or $30 a barrel, whatever it is. I don't know the number, but it's because they're our only buyer. If we had access, if we could sell it to the entire world, we could get full price. We could get what the market rate is.
Just sell it to ourselves. Just sell it to our own people right here. Here. You have the job to exploit the oil field, to build that pipeline, to refine it right here. And then you can sell it to ourselves. And I don't know if you had the time to check, but hydroelectricity, like Quebec is literally the biggest provider or producer of hydroelectricity in the world. And people don't know this. And to the Americans listening to this, we literally light up most of your East Coast. So if you want to go down that road, it's going to suck for Americans because we are selling our own hydroelectricity cheaper than Canadians are able to buy it. So instead of doing, you're laughing at that comment. I saw it. I saw the face. I saw that. Yeah. Okay. So for the people that don't know what we're talking about is
Nico's got a fan.
LGB Baz is saying, I love his French English accent. I appreciate it.
It's very dreamy. Very dreamy.
But I recognize the face you're reading. You're like, gosh.
You knew it was coming.
But the point is this, right? We have enough energy. It doesn't matter that it's oil, gas, hydroelectricity to be self-sufficient. Why not sell it at market value to our own Canadians instead of selling in down south? And not only that, but job opportunity. The more high-paying jobs are right here in Canada, the more economic power we get, because the more people have money in their pockets, the more they spend. The more Canada can fucking tax their people, the more money we have. So it's a win-win-win solution. And this, I'm happy that this is where we're at, because this is all I wanted it to be. Common sense. Can we change the fact of what Trump is doing? No, we cannot. We can only deal with it. So let's deal with it. Let's secure that 4,000 mile of border that we have between our two countries, and then right away start developing ourselves to be more self-sufficient, so that he can't do the fucking same thing 2 months, 3 months, a year from now because he feels like it.
Yep.
Let's not,
and not just him, and any future president. We don't know who's going to come, 10 years, 20 years down the road.
China.
It's just common sense. Yeah.
Same thing with China. Like, people don't understand that we allow free exchange with China, but yet they're under a communist country. which means that they don't pay their workers regular salaries. But not only that, but they're destroying their own environment in order to do so. So we can't compete with them. But imagine that we just say, you know what? No, everything that you're producing, we're going to produce it here.
I mean, this could be the best thing that ever happened to us if we have good leadership.
Yes,
if we have good leadership, and that's the key.
And I'm happy that we agree on this, because to me, there's a silver lining. Again, not only is it exposing that we have weak leaders right now, it's opening the door to somebody to step up and say, let's really put Canada first. Let's stay friends with our biggest allies, that is the US, and then develop ourselves to be less reliant on them, on China, on Taiwan, on all the other countries, and just be just take care of ourselves. And there you go. We have the perfect time to build a great economy and great leadership.
We've got the expertise. We've got the workforce. We've got everything that we need. We just need the political will to do it. And that is, Canadian politicians, over to you. I mean, the ball is in your court.
So Jason from NY Varsity Sports, the market value argument has legs. There's more oil in California than there is in Saudi Arabia. Instead, we sell it to India, and India sell it back to us 60 cents above currency. And he's also saying, wait, you two fuckers are agreeing? Yes, we agree.
Here.
Sometimes
Jason,
we agree.
He's just jealous he's not back here with us.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And again, I hope for the people that are listening to this, you realize that Rob and I do not come from the same political background. We don't have the same belief, but at the same time, we're proving to you that common sense is just fucking common sense. As much as a lefty he can be, we can still agree that this is a golden opportunity, if you ask me. It's a massive golden opportunity. We just need to have strong leadership that are ready to do what needs to get done and reinvest in Canada. Plain and simple.
Yep. I mean, you couldn't have said it better yourself or myself. I think, again, it's going to come down to leadership, political leadership. I haven't seen a whole lot. I agree. I don't think we should not be putting retaliatory tariffs. That's like, you're not going to hurt them. We're not going to get in a war with America. Whether it's an economic war or, God forbid, a shooting war. If they really wanted to, they will fucking turn us into dust. There's no point in pounding our chest. And I actually say that as someone, I don't think you should ever negotiate from a position of weakness. And I think, you don't always just want to roll over and take it when you get hit. However, this is not the time for that. This is a time to save our powder, because there's nothing we can do. There's just nothing we can do. All we can do, and unfortunately, the thing is, what he's asking, at least the official ask, is something we should be doing. It's not like he's asking us to do things that we really don't want to do or shouldn't do. If it really is stopping fentanyl at the border, securing the border, fucking do it. We should have been doing that. Like you said,
there was a report, FYI, there was a report that came out I just want to take a second to show it. There was a report that came out from the US government back in 2011. So we're talking about a fucking long time ago. What Trump is talking about is not a new problem. We've been fully aware of this. And this is what I was saying earlier. See the report right here from what is it? publicintegrity.org, which mentions, and that is in 2011, so that's 14 years ago, bro, saying that only 32 miles of the US-Canada border are secure. And if you look at even Pierre Poilievre in his address from yesterday, he admitted himself, I don't think he did it on purpose, but he called our border with the US unprotected. So even him is agreeing, like even him is saying, he basically is saying that Trump is right in what he's saying, that it's unprotected and it needs a problem. It needs to be addressed. Sorry.
I saw yesterday something like I don't know the total number, is something like 50 maybe, of people on the terrorist watch list were caught at the northern border versus the southern border. And it was like almost double that was on the northern border. So what they're saying is the northern border is now the preferred route for terrorists to enter into the United States. Obviously, thankfully there hasn't been any sort of major attack as a result of that. But just given the mood that America is in right now, if there's one attack that comes up and it's shown that guy came, or those people came in through Canada, like we'd be praying for only 25% tariffs. You know what I mean? Like they'll just shut that motherfucker down.
But another thing that could be extremely dangerous is our passport that is pretty much accepted everywhere around the world. We have one of the best. I would argue that it's a better passport to have than the U.S. You can go to a lot more places. Oh, just look at Cuba. Like that's a perfect example.
Yeah. There are places that don't like America that like Canadians.
So if we're not careful, and as you said, that's a great point that I wanted to talk about. So perfect way to bring it in. If we're not careful and something happens that there is terrorists that sneak through the border, do something to the U.S., it's not just going to affect our relationship with the U.S. Other countries in Europe, other countries in pretty much anywhere in the world could say, in South America could say, you know what? No, we don't trust you anymore because you have Canadian citizens that are recognized as terrorists. You gave them passport. We can't trust you anymore. So this is a massive problem and yet nobody's addressing that. I haven't heard one of our leaders mention the fact that if there is a terrorist that sneaks through Canada that is proven to come from Canada, we are fucked. No, we're fucked. Yeah. It's not going to be bad. Yeah. We're fucked.
Well, we'd be praying for only 25% tariffs. You know what I mean? As bad as that's going to be, that would be a absolute dream scenario if that happens. Just the mood, like America is not in any mood to fuck around with that shit. And agree or not, you got to respect it. You know what I mean? America has, by and large, not thrown its weight around. Well, I guess that's debatable for sure. Or certainly, ask Iraq that, or, Afghanistan that, if they feel like America's throwing their weight around. But in a lot of ways, at least with us for sure, they really haven't. But they're not, the mood has shifted. They are more than willing to throw their weight around right now in ways that would have been unthinkable even, honestly, not even years ago, months ago. And as Canadians, we need to understand that the paradigm has shifted dramatically. The ground has shifted dramatically under our feet, and we can complain about it, but there's not a goddamn thing we can do about it. And so we need to be smart. Like you said, we need to start building out our own capabilities. Hopefully this is a short-term blip in our relationship with the United States. And, we go back to being strong partners, strong friends. None of that changes the fact that we still should be doing those things, because if nothing else, this has shown how much we are really at the whims of, I think, what is it? Trudeau's father famously said, living next to the United States is sort of like sleeping with an elephant. No matter how even-tempered the beast, you're still affected by every little movement that it makes. And that's true. We need to, we need to really build out, we need to get out away from reliance on the United States or any country. That should just be our goal. And I think that, I feel like Canada has felt a little aimless, a little listless the last decade or two. What are we for? What are we doing? This could be a massive decade or two long infrastructure project, building out our own energy capabilities that'll put Canadians back to work. And when it's done, we can be an energy superpower. We've got the resources, we've got the energy, we've got the minerals, we've got everything except for the political will. We
just lack the leadership.
Yep.
Plain and simple, because everything you said there is exactly where I wanted. This is the message I wanted to have today, is really, does it suck? Yes. Is there something we can do about it? Yes. So shut the fuck up and just do it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that attitude right there, the first politician, I don't care what party they're from, the first politician that comes out with that is getting my vote. And I bet you there's a whole lot of Canadians who feel the same way. all the you know, the last 20 years of politics has been these stupid culture war issues, and it all seems, it's so stupid. None of it really matters. You know what I mean? Like, people live your lives how you want. The government should be there to ensure prosperity for the people, and that means having good infrastructure. That means having strong borders. That means having smart trade agreements, and that means exploiting our resources in a a smart way, and it means having sane immigration policies. Fuck the culture war bullshit. Let's get back to actually just common sense politicians. And I think that's like you said, I'm a righty, you're a lefty. We disagree on a lot of stuff, but we agree on that stuff. You know, if nothing else, this is. I dream of a future where the centrist, the moderate lefties, the centrists, and the moderate righties that make up 70% of the population just say, fuck it, we're sick of being silent and letting these idiots on the far left and right drag us all over. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a normie revolution, you know what I mean? A centrist revolution. And I feel it brewing. And partly that's what this podcast is trying to tap into.
Not partly. That's, at least from my side, that is 100%.
100%.
From my side, it's 100% of why I'm here. That's it. There's no other reason. All of my content in and outside this podcast is all about common sense. That's it. Plain and simple.
Absolutely. And it's so easy. You know what I mean? It's not, none of it's difficult. It just has to be, it just needs political will. And as soon as, and that's why I think we've talked about, like, Donald Trump, I'll be real interested to see his approval ratings, because I bet you they're going to be real high, high enough that it's not just, they wouldn't be that high without including a lot of people who would never have liked Trump or approved of anything he did. Like, I think he's winning a lot of converts. And I think it's because he is, for all his flaws, he is the closest thing to a politician to just say, fuck it, I'm just going to do what I think is right. Whether that is right or not is to be seen. Certainly he's heavy-handed, but regardless, he's just, the classic, do what you say what you mean and mean what you say, and then just do it. It's not rocket science. It's an easy model to follow, and yet none of them are.
Couldn't agree with you more, bro. It's it's just common sense. It's really, really simple. We just need to take the opportunity that's knocking at our door to reevaluate what we're good at.
Yep.
Bet on it, make sure that Canadians are benefiting from it, and keep a relationship with the Americans, because it is our strongest ally.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a way out. There's a way out of this, but putting tariffs on them is not the answer.
That ain't it.
Because we all know that we can't prevent Trump from putting tariff on China, on Mexico. This is not our party to play either way. At the end of the day, tariffs always impact the people that are going to have to pay for the product. But at the same time, in the short run, it's problematic. But in the long run, if it allows you to build your own infrastructure, because now people are buying you because it's not cheaper anymore to buy foreign, that's a beautiful thing in the long run. And we've been playing the short game for so long. Both in Canada and the U.S., politicians have been playing the short game for so long. And this is why we are where we are right now, because we have nobody that's playing the long game to say, okay, you know what? Let's make some concession. It's going to suck maybe for the next couple of years, but in the long run, it's going to be good for all of us. This is the problem. And hopefully somebody takes the opportunity right now. And, I wanted to say this before we finish. There's, the guys from Blender News, right? I think you and I have spoken about this before. One of the two guys, Jonathan Harvey, was on my podcast a few weeks ago. And I've never been a fan of Pierre Poilievre, and I will voice my opinion no matter where it is. But he disagreed with me. He said he met him, he's a nice guy, and this and that. And I'm like, I don't trust him. There's something off about this guy. I don't like him. I don't trust politicians, career politicians. His partner, yesterday came out with a video criticizing Pierre Poilievre, and I was like, see, told you. Even his partner that he records Blender News with posted a video where he's criticizing Pierre Poilievre, and I'm like, amen. So even guys that supported him in the public eye, because those guys has a massive audience, they came, not Jonathan, but his partner that I can't remember. I just like the fact that common sense prevailed with that guy. As much as you're okay, you like that person, if they do something wrong that you don't agree with, call them out. I don't care who you are. I can agree with you today and I can strongly disagree with you tomorrow. And I will say so. I will agree with you and I will praise you today, but I'll be the first one to rip you a new one if you do something that's wrong tomorrow.
Well, and it's got to be like that. We've really got to get away from this tribal politics where my guy can do no
100%.
wrong, your guy
100%.
can do no right. And that's a mind shift that has to happen, but it can happen. But it can only happen if we, it has to be done consciously, because the tribal mindset has just been baked into the body politic for so long that, there's a lot of shocks going on in the political system right now. And like I said, like we've said, it's going to hurt, but it presents a huge opportunity if we're going to take it. Just final thing, I wanted to touch on, like you said, we need to stop thinking short term. The fact of the matter is, we need to sort of understand the world that we're living in, because who is not thinking short term is China. They are fucking, like, for all the complaints about Chinese, the Communist Party and how they structure their society. They are fucking smart. And they have had a plan for 30 or 40 years, and they are executing brilliantly on that plan. We are maybe we're not in it yet. No, I'd say we are in it, but our leaders haven't realized it. I think the next phase of the history of the world is going to be a new Cold War with China and then Russia as their satellite versus America and the West. And we are not prepared for that. We are not ready for that. And honestly, when I look at the West now, I don't even know if we deserve to win that. In a lot of ways, the Chinese they're doing a lot of stuff around the world. They're building a ton of soft power, a ton of diplomacy at the same time as they're building up their military. And they've done it all on the backs of American short-sightedness, because it was only when Nixon opened up the country that the free trades and all those factories started to move over there, and they hollowed out the manufacturing base of the United States. They gave us the Rust Belt. They've created enormous resentment, political resentment and dissent. That is the wave that Donald Trump rode in on, because he very astutely recognized that and he tapped into that. The elites have been saying, up to and including in 2024 with Joe Biden as president, elites believe that everything's on the right track. It's just a few far right, scoundrels that probably they have no idea the amount of resentment that is brewing in America, because they have basically offshored all these good, high-paying manufacturing jobs to China, just because corporate America wanted cheap manufacturing, and that's all it is. And that has allowed China to go from essentially a large agricultural nation that was not any threat, essentially a third world country in like the 70s, to a massive global superpower that is building military capabilities, diplomatic soft power, and America is just la-di-dying through the fucking bushes. They're more worried about putting up pride flags on their embassies and spreading transgender HIV care to remote corners of Africa. Like, have you seen all the shit that USAID or USAID has been
but they're canceling it, right?
Oh, they're canceled
but
now,
they just can't. Yeah, but one of the point to make to prove what you're saying is Vivek Ramaswamy, having to leave,
he getting tanked his career with that tweet.
But he tanked it because of his H-1B tweet about.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was up here and he went down there
instead of forming the Americans to take over that technological boom that's going to happen. And that's why Elon Musk talked against him too. So it's very interesting, because what you're saying is 100% true. That Vivek getting removed, like that dude was almost walking on water.
Yeah,
That fucking tweet, and Americans are like,
what I actually agreed with this tweet
you just,
for the most part,
like,
but
what
he wasn't the
fuck
messenger.
did you just say?
He wasn't the messenger. I think if Elon Musk had said that, he would have got criticized, but not. He certainly would have been.
But the point in the matter is that Americans are tired to outsource everything, and this just proved it. But we should also, as Canadian, have, I don't like to use the word pride, but we should be happy to build our own and stop sending everything to other countries. Bring that shit back internally. No, because pride is a sin. Pride is a sin, brother. That's why I'll never use pride. But we should be happy. We should be willing. We should be very encouraged to boost our own economy, boost our own people. We should be
patriotic.
And thank you. Patriotic is the perfect word. We should have, we should be patriotic about doing what's best for Canada. Just like Trump is saying that he's doing that for the U.S. I'm saying because that's what he coming out of his mouth. Is that what he's doing or not? I can't debate it right now. I don't know. Only time will say. But we should do the same in Canada, and we have the opportunity to do it right now.
Yep, absolutely. Could not agree more.
We should call it right there. Leaving on that. Guys, as always,
happy with that.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening to us. Guys, thank you for commenting. And if you like this show,
miss you, buddy.
Make sure, man. Make sure if you like this show, make sure to follow us on X. Follow Rob at Rob_the Builder. Follow the Pulley Orphans on X. Follow it on YouTube. Give us some love on YouTube. This is finally a podcast that I think we can actually have on YouTube without getting in trouble. So follow us on YouTube at the Pulley Orphans. Give us some love there. And if you want to hear more of my French accent, make sure to follow me at Real Nico Lagan. It was just
I'm the brains. I'm the brains of this operation. You're the eye candy.
Oh, balls. Ouch. Ouch. Yeah, well, got to take what Goff gave us, right?
Jason, it was just one dick.
One dick. Well, for you guys out there, again, thanks for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, guys. Yes.